she's out there?
She's
You remember the course she's out there?
Yeah.
Curious
Yeah.
how the weeks
Well,
ago.
he passed away a couple years ago, and
She
Francis just passed away about a year ago. His son's been out there, but
Yeah,
as soon as they, as soon as Francis passed away, her daughter came out there and started saying, we need to sell this place. We need to sell this place, I'm fine. Because you got concrete business, you know, he does Austin and everything else like that.
Meeting, if you would, please silence your mobile devices.
I got your text. Send it back. Thank you.
So quiet in here.
Okay. Are we ready?
Pretty tall agenda there, Mike.
As, everyone ready? All right.
Yes.
At this time, the mayor will call to order the regular city council meeting for 6 p.m. Tuesday, August 6, 2024, City Council Chambers, 201 East Nash Street, Terrell, Texas. We have on the dais with us District 2, Donna Renee Anderson, District 3, Mirani Velazquez, District 4, Stephanie Holmes Thomas, Mayor Pro Tem, and we have District 5, Phil Robinson, Deputy Mayor Pro Tem. Also, we have staff, our city manager, Mike Sims, and our city attorney, Greg Shumpert. This time, I would ask for Pastor Nick Ersch to come from the Cornerstone Reformed Church. He's going to lead us in invocation, and then, if you would, please remain standing for our pledges.
Let's pray. Almighty and triune God, we give you thanks and praise for all of your mighty works. You are loving, good, and gracious. Thank you for creating us and sustaining us day by day. Thank you that you made us in your image to exist in community with other people. We thank you for our city. Thank you for our elected officials, the businesses, the churches, the families, and the individuals that make our city the great place that it is. But Lord, we acknowledge that we do not deserve these good gifts. We are not worthy of your favor, for we have sinned against you in thought, word, and deed. We do things that we should not do, and we don't do things that we should do. We have not loved you with our whole heart, and we have not loved our neighbors as ourselves. We appeal to the Lamb of God, therefore, Jesus Christ, who lived the perfectly faithful life we should be living, and died the wrath-absorbing death we deserve to die for our sins, and rose from the grave in a justifying, death-defeating resurrection, and ascended to your right hand on high. Forgive us and give us hearts of obedience to your holy scriptures. Thank you that Jesus now reigns as King over heaven and earth. Grant that our city would be known as a righteous city, a city that confesses Jesus as Lord, a city of peace and hope, a city with happy homes, a city that welcomes the stranger, a city that cares for the needy, a city that defends the innocent from evildoers. Lord, thank you for civil government. Those who bear the sword do so as your ministers to be a terror to crime. I pray that our civil servants would acknowledge this calling and perform it faithfully. Be with our judges, attorneys, and law enforcement. Grant that they would never neglect or abuse their authority, but that they would stand firm for truth and justice. Keep them safe from harm as they serve our community. Now I pray for this city council meeting tonight. Give the council members wisdom and guidance as they deliberate on the items before them. May every decision be righteous in your sight for our benefit and for your glory. In the name of Jesus and for his glory we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. All right, Pastor, thank you so much for that prayer. Again, that is Pastor Nick Ersch. He's with, or Esch, I'm sorry, not Ersch. I knew a Ersch, that's why I'm saying, Esch. Do you? Esch, thank you for being with us this evening. It means a lot to us. At this time, we have mayor and council community recognition and events. Want to take a moment and just pass along to Greg and his wife, Suzanne, Suzanne lost her younger brother, Frank Stevenson, on July the 27th, I believe. So condolences from the mayor and the council and the city of Terrell.
Thank you.
I know it's difficult to lose a family member, so please let your wife know that we're thinking about her.
Thank you.
Also, would like to take a moment and, on a brighter note, Marie Reisinger, who most of you know owns Reisingers in downtown Terrell. She turned 90 yesterday, so happy birthday to Marie Reisinger. Our thoughts and prayers are with you and your family, and if you haven't had a chance to go by and say happy birthday to her, I know she would appreciate you doing so. And I've also been told, in addition to Mrs. Reisinger's 90th birthday, we have someone here in, at our meeting this evening who's going to be celebrating a birthday on Friday, and that would be Charlotte Gilmore. Happy birthday to you. And I won't say, I was told to say, but I'm not going to say. My mom said, don't say which birthday, but you're welcome to do that if you would like. But on behalf of the mayor and the city council, happy birthday to you. We hope you have a great birthday on Friday. So, does anybody else?
When you get to be 90 years old, you're proud of it.
Yes. Does anybody else have any comments or recognitions? Yes.
I do. I have two. One, I learned yesterday that Ms. Helen Sanders, who was living in the Stallings Addition neighborhood, also known as Miss Pudding by a lot of community members, who was a teacher in our school district, also taught the first Black History program at her church, passed away about 2 to 3 weeks ago, and so I want to acknowledge that. And then my second item is that I want to give kudos to, I do see Chief in the back, our interim chief, yesterday during a community meeting, him, and I'm gonna mispronounce our new officer's name, Cardanova, I believe. He attended the meeting as well and introduced himself and was there to listen, and I learned that this is a new initiative where our new police officers are being asked as part of their onboarding with the city of Terrell to join a community meeting or community meetings. And I think that's a really good effort to continue to bridge that community and public safety police officer relationship. So thank you for that.
You reminded the mayor of something. Yesterday, also, I was at the TISD school. Yesterday was Monday, right? So the Terrell Independent School District did recognize its teachers back as they prepare for their new year. And on Monday, the kids will be returning, so we hope that they have a very successful, non-eventful first day. So if you're out and about the community, just know that Monday morning, Monday afternoon, all of next week probably, because everybody's going to be trying to get into routine, there will be some traffic issues. You're welcome to call any one of the council members if you have any concerns. But we do want to wish our Terrell Independent School District, our partners, well wishes as they open up their school year. In addition to that, I want to thank the library yesterday as well. They had the adult education classes, and they had GED folks, some adults that had completed their GED. One of them was a former employee of mine that she was able to get her GED. So congratulations to Alma and all that she's accomplished. So does anybody else have any more?
Mayor, we
Yes.
had an event at Breezy Hill on Saturday that went really well. It was a 3-on-3 tournament. was a good turnout, a lot of participation from the youthful people in the community and some of the older people too. And I had to be present to present a proclamation to one of the employees of TISD that's been a coach and has really put a lot into the lives of our youth, Coach Pat Walker. So I was honored to do that, but I just want to commend that group of guys for taking the leadership in our city, being a positive role model, and putting on that 3-on-3 event. Sounds like it may be an ongoing thing on an annual basis. And I just want to always give a shout out to those that are doing those positive things in our community.
Wonderful. That's great news. Anyone else? All right. Next item on the agenda is to hear remarks from visitors. I do have one form. Charlotte Gilmore, if you would please come forward. Again, if you would just state your name and address.
My name is Charlotte Gilmore. I live at 260 FM 2578, apartment 42. That's Terrell Senior Terraces, not the nursing home. I'm here tonight on behalf of Terrell Action Committee. As you know, Terrell Action Committee, often referred to as TAC or TAC, is the only organization, we're soon to be a nonprofit, in the city of Terrell that is totally dedicated to homelessness. And in all of its ramifications, not just the people you see on the street, but our homeless population who have children in our schools, a population who are living in homes often, but they are in essence homeless. We want to thank the council for your recent efforts, for your deliberations on the ordinances that you've been working on that have a direct impact on some of our homeless population. And we want to thank Chief Sansom, Chief, for your very respectful consideration of positions that some of our members on TAC have taken and questions that we've asked about the ordinances and about actions that have been taken by your department. We thank you for working with us as we all learn how to deal with the realities of homelessness in our community. TAC is in the process, and this is the main thing I wanted to share with you, is we are in the process of creating a homeless care team or a homeless task force. This will be a group of Terrell citizens who will serve as a homelessness resource, a resource that will be available to our police department, but also to our businesses, our citizenry, other nonprofits in the community, as we all deal with the issues presented by homelessness and housing insecurity in our community. We are very grateful for the council's support of our efforts so far, and hopefully our efforts in creating this care team. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for those comments. Is there anyone else? No. Okay. Our next item on the agenda is board and commissions. Item 4.1, discuss and consider tax increment reinvestment zone numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4 appointments. This is going to be handled by our City Secretary, Don Stahl.
Yes, Mayor and Council, in your packet is the TERS roster. Donna Renee Anderson was elected to the City Council in May of '24, and she resigned from the TERS board. There is a vacancy that needs to be filled, and this board falls under the oversight of Mayor Carmona.
All right, so this is a discuss and consider, council. I have someone who reached out who was interested in this position, and at this time I would like to appoint Dina Elliott Boyd to our tax increment financing board. Reinvestment zones number 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that would be my motion. Is there a second?
I make a second.
I have a motion from the mayor, a second from Stephanie Holmes Thomas, Mayor Pro Tem District 4, to appoint Dina Boyd to our tax increment reinvestment zone numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor let it be known by stating aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimous vote of those present. Our next item on the agenda is to discuss airport board. Again, this will be handled by Don Stout, but Don, there's been some movement on that. Can I just postpone that, or we just need to go ahead and have a discussion? It's not a.
It's just a
Oh,
discussion.
okay,
Yes,
cool.
sir.
All right, so I'm working on that. I think we've got someone in mind, I think that's going to work well for the airport board, and I think we can move on to the next item. Is that all right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Next item on the agenda is 5.1, discuss and consider resolution number 2171, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Terrell, Texas, establishing the updated slogan, mission, and vision statements for the City of Terrell. This will be handled by our senior policy analyst, Omar Amata. I think Ian's here as well.
Yes, he is.
Oh, go ahead.
Come on up. Just a quick introduction, a little background before Ian takes over. Mayor and council, good evening. Just a quick recap, back earlier this year, we did our strategic plan update. We presented a mission vision on there, and the feedback that we got from you was that you wanted to dive a little bit deeper, get some involvement. So we have Ian here with JBJ, and he's gonna kind of take you through the presentation, give you our mission, vision, and slogan that we have, what we came up with the presentation, and then we can talk about the resolution that goes with it that would be up for consideration.
Cool. All right, Ian.
Council, good to see you all again, and thank you so much for your time. I saw the novel before you, that is today's agenda, so I'll try to be as quick as possible. I'm here to present a recommendation for your vision, slogan, and mission statements. I did this in collaboration with city staff, as well as used my data that I've used doing a public engagement for the City of Terrell for the last 2 or 3 years. And so I'm looking forward to hearing what your thoughts are and learning how we came to these 3 statements. So we can go to the next slide. Our process. What our process was is we wanted to first create a brief statement that highlights the qualities of Terrell that makes it unique. The current mission statement we felt was a bit wordy, and so it's hard to remember all these different unique qualities about Terrell. So we thought by making it a little bit more brief, a little bit more succinct, it could stay at the top of people's mind when they're driving into the City of Terrell. They can see the vision that we are about to lay before you. Like I said before, we based our recommendations on city leadership requests, but also from multiple quality of life studies that we've done, where we are learning from young professionals who are trying to start their families and are looking for new places to live, what would draw you to a city like Terrell. And then we not only look from the outside, young professionals, for resources, we've also are great at doing canvassing efforts, which we've been able to do here for the past 2 to 3 years. And so as we're going door to door doing canvassing efforts on behalf of a couple of downtown projects, we get to have one-on-one conversations with your residents now to figure out what drew them to Terrell, what keeps them here, and what is the vision for them for the next 10 years, 20 years. And then finally, we wanted to create statements that are true today, but hold true a decade from now. Often with cities' vision statements, people are over-promising on the vision, and so when people drive into the towns or people visit the towns, they say, oh, none of this is here yet. And even though that may be here 10, 15 years from now, it's not here now. So our vision statement that we're recommending to you guys, I believe holds true to the Terrell that we see today, but will also hold true in the next 10 to 20 years. So this is the vision statement that our team has come up with. An authentic Terrell, an authentic hometown where families thrive, businesses grow, and city lights are just around the corner. We decided to go with hometown because that's what I feel when I drive in here. That is what I feel. Actually, our family owns a home in Terrell. To me, Terrell feels more like home than my original city. I was born in Lubbock, but this feels more like home, where families thrive. Our family has made so many memories here already just in the 2 years we bought this house. My niece's first birthday party was at our house in Terrell. July 4th, we all came out here to shoot fireworks. We opened our Christmas presents in Terrell. So our family is thriving thanks to the opportunity that we have in Terrell. Businesses grow. This county is the fastest growing county in America. And if it's not still the fastest growing county, it's in the top 3. So in my regular job, businesses are hearing about the opportunities that are here in Kaufman County, specifically in Terrell, and want to be a part of that growth. And so not only the businesses that have been here for years and years, there are new businesses coming, like the Buc-ee's, who want to be a part of the growth that is happening in Terrell. And then city lights are just around the corner. We left that very vague because city lights can mean different things to different people. For instance, my home in Terrell is on County Road 341, about 10, 15 minutes from here. So city lights to me from that home means this downtown area. When I want to come get a good meal at Chewy's, or if I want to go see a movie, the city lights of Terrell are just around the corner. But for somebody who lives here in Terrell, city lights could also mean Dallas. You can catch a Cowboys game, a Rangers game, a Mavericks game, and still be home on time to where you don't have to make a day trip out of it. You don't have to make it a hotel stay. You can go have your fun in Dallas and then come back. So that's how we came up with the vision. And so all these things are true about Terrell right now, but we feel they will be true 10 to 20 years from now. And I'll restate it. An authentic hometown where families thrive, businesses grow, and city lights are just around the corner. And so our slogan is going to be more for the people who don't really know much about Terrell but are interested in coming. This will kind of be our banner. This will kind of be our billboard. Our slogan for Terrell is going to be Build Your Legacy. And so I wanted to say legacy because that can be open to interpretation of what makes a legend. For instance, Mayor Pro Tem, your family has been here in Terrell for generations, and so you guys have land and stories and opportunities. You have a true traditional meaning of what it means to have a legacy here in Terrell. Mayor, you're a football legend at Terrell High School. So, so that's what it means to be a legend. Mayor Pro Tem as well. You've saved lives by fighting fires and you take care of your family. So that is your legacy. My family, my father, he graduated from Southwestern Christian College and became the first person in his family to graduate from college. That is a legacy that he has left for me. The family home that I keep talking about, that was bought with the intention in mind that that house is going to be in our family for generations and generations to come. So building your legacy is open to interpretation, but it is a call to action to all residents, both that are here currently and will be here in the future. Building your legacy, everybody can be a part of that, and everybody can participate in their own ways. So that's how we came up with the slogan. And then finally, the mission statement. The mission statement is more for the city leadership because we have the vision, which everybody can participate in. We have the slogan, which everybody can participate in. But the mission is really going to come down to the leadership here that I'm looking before me and the city leaders behind me, whether you be a religious leader, a sheriff, a firefighter. It is going to be our responsibility to lead the way so that we can ensure the last two statements that I've placed before you can be true. And so, like I said, it is a call to action for you all. And like I said, I'm going to keep it short. And so those are the three that we have come up with. I am very open to criticism or edits or anything like that because my ideas may not be the best. And so I would love to hear from you guys. And thank you so much for your time. I'll hand it back to you.
So, Ian, thank you so much for the presentation. I agree with you that short and to the point is the better way to go.
Yes, sir.
So I'm on board with that. Council, let's hear your thoughts about, this is going to be something that we adopt through
Yes, sir. It's on, it's available for you to vote on if you wish on a resolution. And so by passing the resolution, you would make those the official three, the mission, the slogan, and the vision statement.
I have a question.
Yes. Is your mic on? Make sure all the council has their mics on, please.
Am I on? Can you hear me?
Is it green? You're green, you go.
It's green. You said you based your recommendations on, where did your life focus groups, and I'm asking for, just for my information.
Of course.
What percentage of our population were part of your focus groups or part of your public outreach efforts?
The public outreach efforts were 100% here in Terrell. The focus groups we wanted to get from different areas, so we had one here with the young professionals in the city of Terrell, one in the city of Dallas, one outside of the city of Dallas in Texas, and then one completely outside of Texas. And so we try to get as much reach as possible to all types of young professionals from all different walks of life to figure out what is going to draw you to different cities so that you can raise your family there and have a thriving career.
Yeah, and I want to provide the clarification that what Ian's referring to here is projects that JBJ's been working on over the last 2 or 3 years. I don't want to give you the impression that they specifically focus group these things. What we're providing the message to you of is because Ian's been working on this for several years of what should the quiet zones be like? What should the Complete Streets project be like? What should some of our other construction projects be like? He's been out working in the community on those topics, and then they also, prior to your service on council, did a quality of life analysis for us. And so what Ian's communicating is, having been interacting with folks in Terrell for the last 3 years who were the citizen base of Terrell over the last 3 years, when we came forward and said, here's the work product thus far from council, right? So when we say city leadership, we took all of the work that you guys had gotten to when we said, okay, here's an acronym, here's this distance that we've made it so far. Then we handed that off to Ian and his team and said, based on your knowledge of Terrell and folks you've been talking to, do your magic from more of a marketing expertise than city staff had available.
I am aware. I just wanted, because I was in the city council meeting when they first got here, just sitting in the back. I just want to know, in most studies.
Yes, ma'am.
In most studies, they're just going to do a broad range.
Absolutely.
I just need to know the broad range, north, south, east, west, Terrell, in those 3 years. That's all I wanted to know. I understand that when you said young professionals, it pinpointed it for me.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Of course.
So Ian, I have a few comments. Some of this I draw from my previous life as a project management consultant. I did a lot of marketing projects. I do agree that the previous slogan was just word salad. It just kind of was just disconnected thoughts. It didn't necessarily have any kind of a coherent vision.
Yes, sir.
I do like that these are just 3-word, quick to the point, especially lead the way. Something about that really just speaks to me. I don't know what it is about that particular, mission statement. I think it's whoever kind of came up with that one, I think really did a pretty solid job. But
For those who don't know, that was Phil Robinson input on this deal.
So I think Build Your Legacy is great because I think it is open to a lot of interpretation. I think it kind of points to our history, and also sort of points to the future. It kind of, plays a dual role there. You can kind of say, I'm building on the legacy of those who came before me. I'm building my own legacy that's going forward. Makes a lot of sense. But I do kind of want to ask 2 things. One, how will we differentiate? How will the slogan be utilized versus the mission statement? Mission statement is purely internal for us, and the slogan is more externally focused. Is that what we're thinking?
Absolutely. City
Go
Mayor,
ahead.
do you
No,
want-
that's fine. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. That was the plan. The vision statement is more internal. It'll be on your website when people are looking at the city of Terrell. That could be the vision. It would be known by all the people here in the city, but the slogan would be more of the what's on the T-shirt, what's on the billboard, in your advertisements type of thing. That's why we kept it very short, very intentional, kind of left it open to people's interpretation, but the vision should build off of the slogan. The slogan should follow the vision.
Okay, and then the second question I have, my only concern about any of this here is in the vision statement, the last piece of it, the city lights are just around the corner. I think it takes the focus off of Terrell a bit. You know, I love authentic hometown, families thrive, businesses grow, that's all very on point. But when we say the city lights are just around the corner, it makes me think that you've got to go elsewhere for that. It makes me think that you're looking like, oh, you've got to leave here to go to Dallas to find some kind of a nightlife or a lifestyle situation or something that you might want to pursue from that respect. But I don't necessarily like the idea of us saying the city lights aren't here, they're around the corner. So, you know, to me, that kind of confuses our vision a bit. But those are my only concerns about it.
Good point.
Yes, sir. And so that's why I kind of left it there with that interpretation, because for me, like I said, I live off County Road 341. So city lights for me is the city of Terrell. And this was the data we pulled from the Young Professionals group, the young professionals who are trying to start a family do like the availability of a large city like Dallas, but don't necessarily want to live there. They want to raise their family in a more traditional city, but they do want to be able to go to a Mavericks game. They do want to go to a Cowboys game, or they do want to go to like a 5-star steakhouse or something like that, but don't want that city life. And so I kind of saw that as more of a draw for people is, hey, if you want to be kind of close to that lifestyle, but not in that lifestyle, there's a great city not too far from you guys.
And I see that view and I think that makes a lot of sense. My only concern is if I'm, say, a downtown business owner, I'm thinking, well, what about us? You know, we're right here. You
Absolutely.
know? So I can kind of see how that could be a little bit confusing for some. My only concern.
Absolutely. And that could be doctored. If the rest of the council feels that way, I would be happy to make some revisions to the statement.
I also, and you know, I know Myra had a question earlier at a community meeting, organization meeting, and there was a question of like, what does city lights around the corner around the corner mean? And I was getting ready to answer, and Amira did a great job of saying, well, we'll allow JBJ management to share, and I've heard what you've shared, Ian. So I think it definitely depends on the perspective, right? Or your experience with the city of Terrell, whether you're someone that would like to live in more of what feels like a hometown versus a big city, but still have those amenities nearby, the big city nearby. So I want to share that we did have at least one community member asking about that, and in this very short time period today, I am open to rewording that very last piece in the vision statement. For the slogan and the mission, I also appreciate kind of that shorter and straight to the point about building your legacy, and I'll say it, Phil, you know, leading the way, leading the way. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
I was going to thank you for your work and for the presentation.
Are y'all's mics on?
Yes, they are.
Thank you so much,
I want to thank you for your work and your presentation.
Councilwoman.
You know, I've always had concern. I want to really embrace the locals. I get it. I was a young professional years ago.
Yes, ma'am.
I may not be that now, but I want to embrace the locals as well. I went to a conference when I first got on the council, and it talked about, you know, with the growth and the change, you need to always, you know, your city will be strong if you embrace the locals. So I just want to make sure that we do that. I do think the vision statement is good, and I wouldn't have any objection to working on that last piece too.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm learning that because I'm older, I have a tendency to fall into, well, when I was,
Yes, ma'am.
Why can't we? And I'm now getting it that, and I hear my colleagues speaking, if we're going to be growing, then we're looking at the future. And whether I like it or not, some people do want to drive to Dallas and go to a entertainment.
Yes, ma'am.
In the meantime, we're in the process also, just in the last 4 years, have grown a lot downtown. And I understand city lights from 341. So there's that new, young family, people that are here, people that are coming. I'm not sure how you can tweak the last sentence, or the last part of it. But I appreciate the work you've put into it.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
And I can see it. I just have the attention span of a puppy, and so it could be shorter.
Well, I appreciate you. Thank you, Councilwoman.
So I guess my comment is, I think what we were shooting at, and don't let me put words in your mouth, but I think this was what your goal was that in your vision statement, you're saying that Terrell offers the best of both worlds.
Absolutely.
You can be in a hometown, but if you choose to have a nightlife or entertainment, that it's just not far from our community, right?
Absolutely.
How do we say that? And that's what we know. This isn't to drive business away from our downtown or drive businesses away from Terrell, but to reinforce the fact that, hey, we're a hometown. You'll have that feeling, but if you so choose to go to the Cowboy game, or if you so choose to go to the Maverick game or a Stars game or what Rangers game, you can do that and be back home that night.
Absolutely.
I think that was what you were trying to do, and you're trying to do it with the least amount of words, because like our council member said, you know, we had word salad on that last one. You can't say all that and it just be something concise. Are we in agreement as a council that we're trying to get in this very last phrase, best of both worlds, right? Is that, are we comfortable with that or no? And I'm just trying to help Ian out here.
Yes.
Not me. Ian, they're the expert, and for those that don't know, very successful in what they do. And we're very fortunate that we can have someone of his caliber and his family giving us advice to the city of Terrell. So we just need input, right? I want to hear everything because we're going to have to own this, and I want everybody comfortable with it.
Mayor, when I think of a
Yes.
vision statement, I think of what we're aspiring to be. And I don't think we're aspiring to be the city that's around the corner from something interesting. We want to be the something interesting. You know what I mean?
Agree.
I think that's the aspiration. So I think that, you know, I do like the idea of some sort of promotion in that, you know, in this particular vein, but maybe not as our vision, because our vision is to become the hub, the destination for, you know, for the kind of nightlife or, you know, quality family experiences, things like that that you might have in the, you know, while maintaining that hometown feel.
And that's a very good point, Councilman, but we'll never be able to be the home of the Cowboys or be the home of the Mavericks or anything like that. But you're right, we want it to be about, Terrell, how do we be better at what we're doing? So that's some input from us. Does anybody else have anything?
I guess what I see here, like if we had to, you go back to the basics, like in 3 words, like I see live, I see work, and that last one I feel like is play, right?
Exactly.
So how do we, I won't, but giving you the feedback about, how we could change, what we'd like to see in the future as far as changing up that last part to say, like, you can play here. You don't have to, you can go to Dallas, you can go to Fort Worth, but maybe saying that you can play here as well. And
Can I just offer, Mayor and Council, remember, staff point of view on this is that we're not in a hurry. So if folks generally think, man, the slogan is spot on, man, that mission statement is spot on, and we've got a vision statement where 2 of the 3 phrases on it are spot on, that's kind of what I'm hearing. So if that's where we stand, then to me, a little motion that says, hey, let's postpone to give JBJ a little bit more time to polish on that last element. Ian's heard. It's hard to brainstorm and think of new ideas when you're standing in front of council. So I in all fairness to our consultant team and staff working on it, give us, do a vote to postpone and give my suggestion is call it postpone pending consultant review, and we'll bring it back on a upcoming city council agenda and have you either a single recommendation or a couple of options that tries to thread the needle. I think y'all all have great input, and I think couldn't be prouder that we've got a great partner who helped us get to this point.
I agree. The vision statement is just almost there.
Right there.
Just right there on it's just that very last little and, the after and.
Absolutely.
Is what we're working on, right? I think
Yes, sir.
everybody's comfortable with authentic hometown, right? Everybody's comfortable with business growth, and so it's just that very last portion of it. So with that, and with that said, the mayor make a motion to postpone, to consult with, to give the consultant enough time to review and get back with the mayor at our next council meeting. Is that all right with everyone? Okay, so there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion from the mayor, a second from Mayor Ronnie Velasquez, District 3, to postpone item 5.1 and give our consultant enough time to review and get back with the council. Is there any further discussion? One last comment. Council, if you would, you have some thoughts, please let Ian know either through O'Mara, right?
Right. Yeah, send everything to O'Mara, please.
And then that way, he'll get to it. Or if you want to speak with him one-on-one, I know Ian would do that for you.
I'm available for
Yeah, he's just that type of guy.
Yes.
All right. So, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Ian.
Thank you, council.
Our
Thanks,
next
sir.
item on the agenda is 5.2, discuss and consider the award for RFP number 2024-DR1, post-disaster debris and removal services. This is going to be handled by our city engineer, Chris Snap.
Actually, it's gonna be
City.
Dustin Connor, I believe.
Yeah, those two were flipped.
Oh.
Sit down, Dustin.
Would either Chris Snap or Dustin Connor please come to the front?
Chris, come on up, Chris, you can have it.
Got it.
Well, that may not go well.
Yes.
Okay, so, good evening, Mayor, Council. We're next step for our disaster, our debris management RFPs. This one is our debris removal contractor. Remember last week we awarded a contract for our debris monitor, and we've already got our contract out to legal for them to look at, and then it's been now sent back to Debris Tech to get their stuff finalized so we can get that signed and get started. Tonight we're bringing, there are 5 debris removal contractors who submitted RFPs. That makes up about 1,820 pages. So if you didn't have enough last week, you got a little bit more to read. There'll be a test later. So after this one, we're going to do a disaster recovery specialist. That'll be the last RFP that we do in this process, and they're going to be who helps us manage the paperwork for projects with FEMA. So kind of where we are right now, we're around 80% of the city's debris has been removed and disposed of. So we still have a part of that left to do.
Don, just go back one slide.
Sorry, we have a part of,
Yeah, go back. Yeah, go to the RFP scoring sheet. You were there a minute ago. There you go. Just hold there, yeah.
so we still have some that's left to do. We've up to about $500,000 so far in debris removal. All the documentation has been gathered from Glenn and his team. We're still gathering the rest of that and getting it organized so that we can get that stuff submitted to FEMA for reimbursement. Just so there's no confusion about what that process looks like, the reimbursement process is kind of a lengthy process. So this isn't something that we're going to submit for reimbursement, be reimbursed, and expect to see that in a couple of months. It really is probably going to take us a year, even up to 2 years, to get that reimbursement process closed. So the disaster declaration that we're operating under is a statewide declaration that started back in April and is technically still open. So it's just going to be a long process working through the reimbursement. But the thing that was important to us was to get the debris picked up and off the street and out of the right of way so that we didn't leave an eyesore, but we didn't leave something out there that was going to be a public safety concern.
Okay.
So once the new contractors, contracts are vetted by legal and we bring them on board, they expect to be working in the next 2 weeks to remove what's left and then take care of those. We talked about it a little bit last week, the leaners and hangers, the things that we haven't really gotten to address yet. We've kind of prioritized that stuff as things that are safety hazards, and then we're going to go back and finish the residential properties, residential right-of-ways, and then we're going to look at city parks, other easements or right-of-ways that we have access to, property that the city owns, and then our commercial stuff that needs to be touched too. So this tonight is the next step in that process, and it's to award our debris removal contractors. So Crowder Gulf is a great company. We actually had really good respondents to this RFP. It was actually a little bit difficult to score, but we had 2 that were up at the top, and that's going to be Crowder Gulf and DRC.
Good. So we saw this last week a little bit, right?
We talked about it for a second last week, but the debris monitoring is what you actually saw this last week. This week is the actual debris removal.
Yeah.
And remember, the debris monitor is who holds the debris removal company
In check.
accountable. Yeah, so we make sure that they said they took 400 truckloads,
Right.
but did they actually take 400 truckloads, and were the truckloads full? So.
Right. So, council, does anybody have any questions for?
I do.
Yes.
So this Crowder, and aren't these the same companies? Is Crowder the same company that did the monitoring?
No, Debris Tech is who we awarded the primary contract to.
For monitoring?
For monitoring, and
And
then
that's
Rawson was the secondary, yes.
And so these are different companies?
They are.
You have politely given me a ton of paper to read. So, if I may ask, how many respondents to the RFPs did we get?
We had 3 respondents to the debris monitoring RFP, the one you saw last week.
But to
We
the
had
RFP
5.
for this?
We had 5 for this one.
Okay, and these are gonna, and of those 5, you picked one?
We're picking 2. We're gonna do a primary contractor and a secondary contractor.
Okay.
Just in case, just like I said last week, there's never been an instance where the primary contractor wasn't able to be used, but if something catastrophic happens and they're unavailable, we already have another contract secured. And these work the same way as the debris monitors. We don't pay for them until we issue a notice to proceed.
Now, what about the debris that is currently still being picked up? Is this part of that?
This is not part of debris that is currently picked up. This will be to...
This is for another storm?
This is for the future storm, but once we finish this procurement process, we can use them for what's left.
Once we select them, we can use them for what's left?
Yes, ma'am.
And that is, and based on the requirements, we will not be reimbursed. The reimbursement process is lengthy.
That's correct. The reimbursement process is lengthy, but procuring this contractor does not mean that everything that we've done up to this point is not reimbursable. It will be a different project in the reimbursement process. So we won't submit one ticket to FEMA for all of our stuff. We'll have to do it in 2 pieces. But it doesn't mean what we've done up to this point is not reimbursable. We think we have a very good argument for reimbursability. The documentation that Glenn and his team has taken and has in place is great. We're just packaging all of that stuff together, and when we meet with FEMA, we'll see where we are on it.
So we're counting on the fact that FEMA is going to play fair and reimburse us in a totally governmental point of view process.
Yes, just like every other city that's going through this too, yeah. So it's not something that's unique to us, and our chances are not any more or any less than any other city. The thing is it just kind of becomes, how do you interpret the information that I gave you? How do they interpret the information that I gave them? And then do you come to a consensus on what that, if it's 100% reimbursement, it's 80% reimbursement, 40%? The old, the kind of saying is you should never expect that you're going to get 100% reimbursement. It's what you strive for, but we just kind of know that the federal government is going to come back and say, well, this thing we don't like how it was done, so we're going to decrease your reimbursement here. And then what does that look like across it? So for us, we're going to give them every piece of information that we can think that they're going to ask for, and hope that it's an 1,800-page document that you're not going to be able to sit down and read in one sitting. You know what I mean?
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Anyone else?
Real quick, in thinking about our current debris removal situation with the existing storm, if we do move forward with this, how long does it take to ramp up debris monitoring?
So our contract with them says that they have someone on site within, I think it's 12 hours is what the debris monitor was, that they have someone on site within 12 hours.
Don't they have to do like a inventory of the city to see what the situation is?
Yeah,
I'm
so
sure there's a process for that.
the hope is now that we've given the debris monitor their contract back and we're waiting on them to say that they're good with it and we sign, that we end up with our removal process doing the same thing and we finish them up pretty close together. I'll have a removal contract over to our attorney tomorrow for their comments, and then we'll get it back to them. The hope is that our removal company and monitoring company show up at the same time, so they do that assessment together. If not, then the debris monitor will do that assessment for us, and then we'll just kind of go from there.
But not sure how long it will take them to kind of get the information together to understand where we are currently with the removal.
They'll drive the city in a day. So
Okay.
they'll
Takes them a
that
day.
day, whatever day it is that we set up for them to come out and drive with Glenn, myself, or Glenn and his team, it will happen in that day, and they'll have a plan in place. And because we don't have this huge amount of debris left, the conversation kind of internally right now is, do we set up a temporary debris management site where we're picking it up off the street, taking it somewhere, reducing it, and then taking it for disposal, or do we just go direct disposal? And that's something that's in the contract, an option for us, so that if there's not this massive amount of debris, that they feel like they can haul it just as fast as they can take it, reduce it, then they're gonna do that. So that's kind of the conversation we're having right now, is how we're gonna do that going forward.
Thanks, Dustin.
Now, in the future, for future storms, let's say of this magnitude, the same thing stands, right? They'll have a person on site in the first 12 hours. They'll make that assessment, and then they're supposed to be the RFP and their responses. It's all of their responses. I think it's within 72 hours they're operating at full capacity. Now, a storm like what we had, they'll absolutely set up a temporary debris management site because they'll want to dedicate these 10 trucks to picking up debris out of the right-of-way and taking it to the debris management site. And then we're going to take these 10 trucks and we're going to haul what we reduced at the debris management site to the landfill or final disposal. That way, we're not doing it in two pieces. So we are doing it in two pieces and not using the same trucks in both and prolonging that time. Because from TCEQ standpoint and from FEMA standpoint, they don't want us hauling. We don't want to do it either, hauling to one place just for it to sit for months until we can final disposal.
So through all of this, Dustin, we're just allowing the city to better manage storms in the future and finish whatever debris we have left.
Yeah, absolutely. And selfishly, it's
Right. No,
it makes the reimbursement process faster for us because they have a team of people.
And they're experts
doing
at it,
it.
so they
That's
know
right.
what the government's looking
It's
for
what they
versus
do.
us.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's what they
I
do,
agree.
where we haven't seen a storm like this where we've had to ask for reimbursement since 2012.
Right.
15. So,
Okay.
so we haven't had that. And so the experience of that it's been 10 years for me.
Right.
Where these guys are doing it.
Do it all the time, yeah.
That's right.
And they have their relationships built and
That's right.
probably can move it quicker.
Yeah, so the guy from Debris Tech, and in fact, came from FEMA.
Yeah,
doing
I know how
EPA.
they work, yep.
So,
Okay,
I
so.
have a question.
Yes, go ahead. No,
apologize,
you're
Mayor.
fine.
May I make a request, if it's possible? In in the future, when we have a request for proposal, is there any way for me to see it before it becomes here?
That is a
there any way-
great question, and we just had
Because-
this conversation in-house. So we have an RFP website, and I think what will streamline things for City Council is for us to do a better job with, okay, Council, 3 days from now, a week from now, whatever, you're going to be looking at RFP number such and such. The RFP is already out there, public information. It's easy for us to give you that link, let you look at the RFP. The day the RFPs come in, we get them electronically by rule, right? So we can very easily upload them on the website, they're public information, and we can very easily say, hey, Council, here's 5 responses that total 1,800 pages, and that way we're giving you the information by a web link with the exact same information. It's transparent to the public because it's on the website, they can see it. And that way your agenda would have, hey, here's the cover page, here is the next page that has the cumulative valuation on it, and I'm limiting what you're seeing in your packet because I'm maximizing what we're also just putting on the website available for anybody to just go take a look at because it's all just public information. So we had that conversation today because, yes, it's a little overwhelming to, it makes me feel like that, yes. It's a little overwhelming to have that volume of paper. So, great question.
Thank you very much.
I was fixing to hit that door over there, man. I don't know what happened. I was going to hit that door. Okay.
I have a question for Dustin. I heard you say during your presentation, kind of about us wrapping things up. It's been a long process. I appreciate the work you guys have done. You've done a great job. But is there anything we need to relate to our citizens, or what would you suggest as it relates to wrapping this up and getting this done? Our city looks great. I see the work, and you guys are still at it, so.
Well, I would say that if there's storm-related debris, that hasn't been moved to the street, and it should be there by now, right? Because, like, I know my wife would have already, it'd have been done, right? So we're 2 months past.
Right.
But if there's any storm-related debris, it needs to make its way out to the street, because when they come out, our intent is that we have them kind of skip forward and do that final pass trip. So they make their assessment, and generally they would go street by street picking up, and then at the end, they go again to catch that final pass for those people that, because remember, the plan is we're going to start debris pickup on day 3, right? So the storm happened, day 3, we're picking up debris. We know that happened on a Wednesday. Well, Sunday comes around, the people that got hit first, the people that got picked up first, hadn't cleared stuff out of their backyard yet. And so they got to come again to do that final pass stuff. And so I would say the big thing is if they have storm-related debris, it needs to be out at the street. So
And I will actually continue that by saying, I think it's incumbent upon city staff to get another communication out, which we didn't want to do until council acted today, to basically provide the communication of, if you've got a neighbor who, or yourself and you're elderly, or you've got a physical problem and you haven't been able to take care of something. My example for you is that the Texas Baptist men were just working with Glenn on Friday to get into a backyard, cut down a very large chunk of very, very heavy, dangerous debris, got it all cut down, got it put in the right place. It was easy for staff to come pick up. And if we've got examples like that where we know of somebody who is a hardship case, who still has backyard, front yard, side yard, whatever issue, we need to solicit that information. If you're on council and you want to send it to me or Dustin, that's great. We'll have a message out on Facebook saying, hey, if you need charitable assistance, we're kind of getting close to last call here. We got to drag that information out of people and make sure we know. And because that's who's going to have it in their backyard still. And we need to make sure that happens, and we can do that through some outreach efforts. So great question.
Yeah. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, so if we so choose, thank you, Dustin, great presentation. We need to authorize the city manager to enter into contracts with post-disaster debris removal services with the primary contractor Crowder Gulf and the secondary contractor DRC.
Motion to authorize the city manager to enter into contracts for post-disaster debris removal services with the primary contractor Crowder Gulf and the secondary contractor DRC.
Thank you. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion from Phil Robinson, Deputy Mayor Pro Tem District 5, a second from Stephanie Holmes Thomas, Mayor Pro Tem District 4, to authorize the city manager to enter into contracts with post-disaster debris removal services with the primary contractor Crowder Gulf and the secondary contractor DRC. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimous vote of those present. Our next item on the agenda is 5.3, discuss and consider award of contract for RFP 24-14, Poetry Road and Highway 34 waterline improvements, TDA-CDV 21-0329. This will be handled by our city engineer, Chris Knapp.
This is the better, good-looking Chris Knapp than the previous one. So, council and chair, mayor and city manager, bring for you again, and this is an update from where we were. You've heard this subject and topic before. We had hopes that the land acquisition portion of this would be complete. So this is at a discussed today, but no change from the previous recommendation of A&M Construction doing the bid and of the water line of Poetry Road. So that's where we're at as far as moving forward. When the land acquisition is complete, then we'll bring this back probably as a consent from here.
Okay. We looked at this last week. So does anybody have any new questions for Chris? Hearing none, council, if you so choose, the recommendation would be to enter into a bid agreement with A&M Construction and Utilities, Inc. in a base contract amount of $797,693. Yes?
So moved.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Mayor Ronnie Velasquez, District 3, a second from Donna Renee Anderson, District 2, to enter an agreement with A&M Construction and Utilities, Inc. in the base amount of $797,693. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries from unanimous vote of those present. Our next item on the agenda is to discuss contract recommendations for Fire Station Number 3 early release package. This is going to be handled by our downtown project manager, Raylan Smith.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. I am here to present with you the action item for the one and only surprise that will take place at Fire Station Number 3 that I promised Mayor Pro Tem Holmes Thomas. So I'm just here if you have any additional questions. The bids were in your packet last week, and this would be to award this contract to order materials.
Does anybody have any new questions for Raylan? Again, this is item 5.4, and we would need to enter into agreement with Stewart and Stevenson Power Products LLC in amount of $166,200 to furnish and deliver the generator, and Legacy Electrical Services LLC in amount of $83,000 to furnish and deliver the switchgear panels and UPS as scoped for Fire Station Number 3. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion from Mayor Ronnie Velasquez, District 3, a second from Phil Robinson, Deputy Mayor Pro Tem, District 5, to enter into agreement with Stewart and Stevenson's Power Products LLC in the amount of $166,200 to furnish and deliver the generator, and Legacy Electrical Services for LLC an amount of $83,000 to furnish and deliver the switchgear panels and UPS for Fire Station Number 3. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimous vote of the president. Our next item on the agenda is 5.5.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we bring to you tonight resolution number 2167, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Terrell, Texas, authorizing the approval of a development agreement between the City of Terrell, Texas, CM Realty LLC for the Evening Star Development for a mixed-use residential development in Terrell, Kaufman County, Texas, authorizing the city manager to negotiate and the mayor to execute the development agreement and establishing an effective date.
Okay, this will be handled by Mike Sims.
So, Mayor and Council, Resolution 2167 is a subject we've talked about several times. It was postponed last week when it was on for an action item so that there could be a little bit more Q&A and gathering of information. I think we've successfully accomplished that. Just as a reminder, this is the project that's roughly 500 acres. It's directly north of the city on State Highway 34. Small amount of the property is currently within the city limits, but the bulk of the property is outside the city limits. We've done the work with the development entity to try to work out a voluntary annexation. So it's always nice to have voluntary annexation partnership with a developer. We know that we're a hotspot for development, and we're dealing with the rules set up down in Austin for us to manage through developments that occur in the ETJ. So this particular one is summarized on Exhibit A. So if you turn over to just a couple of pages forward, Dawn, there you go. So there's the summary. Just a couple of high points. 500 acres, primarily 999 single-family homes. About 100 of those are estate lots. About 900 of them are single-family homes ranging from 40 to 60 and 70-foot lots. 790 units of multifamily, about 194,000 square foot of retail and commercial development. And then you can see some of the financial aspects of the deal down there, making sure that we clarify on impact fees, making sure that they have adequate improvements that they make to sewer issues, and making sure that they're able to create a capital public improvement district, which of course is that self-pay strategy that we've been using with voluntary annexations. So again, when you look at this, you think, okay, what does that $125 million mean under item 10? That means that they're willing to borrow that much money and work through the process of getting that paid back by having additional property tax assessment on the property. And then likewise, in order to keep the maintenance of the green space and drainage off of our docket, there'll be a 3-cent, again, additional tax public improvement district for that. So fairly complicated deal. It does involve the creation of a additional tax increment reinvestment zone at 50% of the city M&O. The council will see that. You'll see the PIDs. You'll see the zoning all come forward at later dates. Today's action is strictly authorize that we can finalize the negotiations for the voluntary annexation and allow the mayor, when that agreement is completed and gets the check mark off from all of our legal team and our finance team, that we're ready to go and can sign that and move forward as our first step toward a voluntary annexation. So, Mayor, I'll hand it back to you.
Yeah, Council, so we had postponed this item so that we could get a little bit more information from staff and clarity on what we had. So again, this is resolution number 2167. I hope that you were able to get the answers that you needed. Is there a motion on resolution number 2167?
Motion to approve resolution number 2167 as presented.
There's a motion. Is there a second? Mayor will second. Is there any discussion? So we have a motion to approve resolution number 2167, a second from the mayor. Is there any further discussion?
Is this where I can ask the question?
Yes.
The same concern I have with this development, putting extra strain on our infrastructure and our sewer, that hasn't changed. Is there any verbiage in the contract about them taking up some of that onus or the responsibility, maybe by, putting that temporary plant or and being responsible for operating it, and it's just, I have some concerns as it relates to that.
So the strategy related to sewer is that it's basically a self-pay, not a self-treat, but a self-pay system. Every time that they move forward to do a construction plat on the property, whether that's a year from now or some other time in the future, maybe phase one happens quickly and the last phase takes more years. Each time they're doing a construction plat, they really need to do a sewer assessment, make sure that our system is ready for it, and then determine what pro rata share of improvements in our system are necessary for their sewer to come in. So it's set up as an agreement where when they come in, any cost that they're going to hand off to us that we identify in our sewer system is a payment or simply a facility improvement that they have to make their fair share of. And so that's an inherent part of the development agreement, and we're confident we've got that wording well done. We got a good legal team we're working with, and we're confident to recommend that they're going to be a very efficient self-pay on all of their sewer system impacts.
So will they, I don't know if I'm asking this right, so they will be responsible for having something temporary to take care of their sewer and they'll pay to operate it?
They are not going to be doing a temporary plant on Kings Creek, on the corner of State Highway 34 and Kings Creek. There will not be a package plant at that location. They will identify through studies the improvements that are necessary in our pipes, and they will have to pay for those improvements in our pipes in order to move forward with their each individual construction plat phase.
I'm just worried about the obligation we're gonna have to take care of this when they finish this project, because I know we already have old infrastructure. That's my concern. The traffic's gonna be an issue too, but this is my most concerning thing right now. If we could put a little more verbiage in there to make them more obligated to help us with some of that, because we have a lot of these projects we've already approved. We have to start to work on that, and that's my concern.
May I?
Yes.
Based on what I have learned so far in regards to our own city infrastructure, I can appreciate an organization, a developer, wanting to annex into our city. However, I just don't feel comfortable with putting, for lack of a better description, another piece of the pie, another thing into a pipe system. I might not understand how that works, but we've got failing infrastructure, and we're trying to repair that, and I am not understanding how they are not going to impact what's coming downhill. Maybe I need to talk with Mr. Snap and DJ about all of that. But right now, the picture that I'm having in my mind is these people want to, this developer wants to put a project. And at some point in time, it will impact Terrell at some level. And I can't see it. That is a concern that I have. The other part was explained to me about, the other concern I had was the impact fees being lower than what we charge other developers, and that was explained to me. But every time I drive around Terrell and I see water running downhill, all I can think of is, where's it coming from? And what broke this time? And can we keep up? So Mayor, I know the struggle you're having with your negotiations, but I am
So what I would say is that the impact isn't going to be immediate. This is going to be years out, and we're going to be continuing to work and improve our infrastructure locally, so that when they do tie in, that we're in a position to where we can handle it. But that impact that assessment will come in the future. It's not for today. I mean, if they're not going to break ground today and have traffic and/or issues with sewer immediately. So this is a process that's going to take years.
I can only offer to you that the contract that we're talking about here is a contract within which they cannot build things until we've identified what specific things they will do that are impacting our system that they will be responsible for paying for the improvement. The exact wording of the agreement is exactly what I'm being asked to do here, which is to say, we look at the situation, not today guessing, we look at it when they want to build each individual phase, we identify what repair, and maybe it's 3 miles away, needs to be done, because if we didn't make it, then there would be a negative impact on our system. But if the developer pays for the repair or improvement in our system, then we are able to say, yes, you're cleared because you've paid for improvements in our system necessary for our system to accept your flow. So I just want to make very, very clear on both traffic and on sewer, those are the subject of, in one case, a TIA, in the other case, a sewer study that very clearly outline you do not get a permit to actually build things from the city of Terrell. One thing is to annex, another one is, how do I get a permit to build? I get a permit to build under this agreement only by proving through a technical study at the right time that you're paying for the right set of improvements in the sewer system. If they can't produce that and pay their pro rata share of that, then they're unable to build under the terms of this agreement.
And then
like
even
to-
with the land, I'm sorry.
I'd like to make just the point I think that's kind of crucial here is that, there's a challenge inherent in, when a development is likely going to be built, and you can kind of just, based on how negotiations play out, whether it's going to be built within the city limits and we get a tax benefit there by it being inside the city, or it being built outside the city limits and, we don't really receive any benefit from that. I think that, looking at it in just purely those terms, if we want to upgrade our infrastructure and have the funding to do so, having those as taxes is pretty important in the long term potentially, especially considering it's likely going to be built either way, outside the city or inside the city. So we kind of have to make the call. Do you want to have it built and have us have a benefit, or it be built and we have no benefit from it? And that's the way I think it has to be perceived.
Yeah.
I mean, even though we're getting a benefit, we just have to make sure that we start applying the funding to work on some of these things. And I don't know if we've been actively doing that, because our priorities and some of our big money projects are not going toward our old infrastructure. If I saw a little more of that, I might be more apt to believe it and go for it. And then even with the land list, the cost of everything is gonna be higher. Has the developer made any kind of application to TCEQ as it relates to like facilities or plants? Have they made any type of?
Whenever a project is voluntarily annexing in, they would not make application to TCEQ. That would come through y'all instead, so that you're the governing body as opposed to folks in Austin being the governing body. So right now the tract is no application to TCEQ, simply make any such applications to our own engineering department so we can be the entity reviewing their proposals.
So I'll share what I shared previously with the council, and then I also would like to call attention to some of my concerns for moving forward with developers. And but the first is that this development is going to bring diversity to the community that we've been asking for. It's going to have the smaller lots that can mean more affordable homes. It's going to have multifamily garden units. So I'm thinking about some of our elderly residents, right? Or maybe those that have a disability. Once again, affordable housing, maybe a family that's getting started that will have a connection to what we were talking about earlier, the work-life play, where there will be, we didn't show any photos at this time around, but where there's an area for a grocery store. There's an area for, I believe I saw it was a bank. There's a area for a future public school. There is an area for more, there's more green space to allow for the children and families to play around in. There are, going back to the diversity of housing, there's more executive homes in this development that we're getting compared to previous developments that we're getting, along with kind of what I'll call the bigger, the small, medium to smaller size home in the development. I do appreciate kind of the wrestling with the developer to make sure that as they're coming forth to engineering, to municipal development, that there will be an analysis that will have to be made on upgrading or repairing it in conjunction with, city expenses. So I am in favor of the development. I share the same concerns in terms of future growth and the aging infrastructure that we have to address in the city of Terrell. And the previous council, some of us still on here from that previous council, a couple of years ago, really kind of beat the drum to the city and Mike, the city staff, about streets. I think we're in a better place with streets. City staff heard us. We had to put a plan in place, do some analysis, and there's still more work to get done because it's a city with aging infrastructure, and as Stephanie alluded to, costs are continuing to rise. But I'm making that same ask, that same request of city staff to continuing to work in bringing forth, when we look at the budget for this year and when we look at future projects, weighing aging infrastructure with the stormwater, the water, as they bring those projects forth to us and as they bring the proposed budget to us as well, and continuing to work with, future developers on talking about the traffic, talking about helping pay for the infrastructure that will put a strain that can put a strain on our aging infrastructure. The last thing I'll add is to encourage city staff to continue to bring in the diversity of housing and amenities in future developments as well.
Okay. Thank you for your comment.
And I want you guys to think that a smaller lot is going to decrease, how do I say this? You still got to have the square footage. Houses are built via square foot, they're sold via square foot. It just goes up. When you have a smaller lot, you're going to have these towering structures on these tiny little lots. And it's kind of like small lot, small house, medium house, lot, medium house, large lot, large house. And I said, it's just as a council, I think we struggle with that concept. Restaurants get it. If you had a gastric bypass, you can eat on the 12 and under menu. They get it. It don't fit anymore. The same food does not fit in that stomach. I think hospitals get it. But it's just something about, we think we make the lot smaller, that the value is going to go down on the house. It doesn't. We still have the same requirements, the same square footage. We just have to build a 2-story instead of a single story to be in compliance with our ordinances. That's just my concerns. this development's, you know, close, it's my district, and I'm just concerned about it, and I think I've verbalized that, and that'll be, you know, on record, and I'm ready to move forward whenever you guys are.
When you all do your negotiations, do the engineers get involved?
Yes, ma'am. There's quite a bit of communication between the engineers working for the developer and our engineering team. It's a very frequent and very common conversation, yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so there's a motion and a second. All those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 3-2. Next item on the agenda is discuss and consider ordinance number 3047.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we bring to you tonight ordinance number 3047, an ordinance of the City of Terrell, Kaufman County, Texas, amending Chapter 8, Offenses and Nuisances by adding Section 8-10, Prohibition on the unauthorized placement, erection, or maintenance of temporary shelters on designated public property, and by adding Section 8-22, Sleeping in a Public Place, providing a penalty, providing for the repeal of conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Okay. This is for Mr. Sims.
So I've got Interim Chief Sampson here to speak, and Denise, who is our housing director, is here also. I don't often do this, but I want to say I sort of feel like one of our speakers during our 3-minute time actually did a really nice little recap of this project. So I want to thank the Terrell Action Committee for some of their input on this, and I want to thank Charlotte Gilmore for coming up and speaking. I think it says a lot that council, number one, said, hey, there's an issue here, let's address it, let's talk about it, let's figure out a solution. It ended up being a very cooperative process. There were a number of times where Denise Simon, our housing director, and Interim Chief Sampson were able to interact with different parts of their alliance. I was able to do some chatting with some of their team members as well. And then listening to City Council the couple of times that y'all have discussed this, it was, okay, where are we and where should we go in this thing to really land this in a good and healthy way? Instigating issue has always been that we have tools in the toolkit now that are all about Class B misdemeanors and $2,000 fines. We wanted to give our police department some slightly different tools in their toolbox, and came forward with a proposal basically creating some Class C misdemeanors. The difference between Class B and Class C, just for the audience, I know council knows this, is that you're dialing down from a trip to the county jail to now you're visiting just the Terrell Police Department, right? And then we had a fine associated with that. We had some discussion about that correct number and made an adjustment based on getting some of that feedback as well. So I think the key to where we're moving forward is agenda item page, I hate to say it, 1,886. And that form, which Don has been kind enough to bring up, is called transient contact form because when our police department interacts, they actually don't know. When they interact, they're seeing somebody who seems like they might be transient, but we're really not sure what category to put them in. And so the idea is that, say we identify a complaint, we've been called out, something has happened, and we're going to go and investigate the situation. Arlie's team would do their best to fill this out, figure out what they can do. A lot of the people in this situation will have a phone number, so I know maybe that strikes some folks as odd, but they will have it. The address where the contact is made, that's great. Sometimes folks will give us an address and say, well, I'm actually from this location in a different city. And so we have, some information that they can track there. And then the key of this is really when we collect it, what can the officer fill out on the report related to this category in the middle, right? Did they request mental health assistance? Sometimes folks will just say, I ran out of my prescription, I haven't been on my prescription over a period of time. Sometimes it will be, well, this person seems like likely they need a mental health assistance, but we can't quite get them to say, yes, I need it. And sometimes it's simply unknown, or we don't know whether or not it's needed. So we can check off the correct box. We do run into people who are in this situation who are domestic abuse victims, so we want to track that, make that available. And then there's an item there for the officer to gather more information. If our initial contact is an attempt to get them plugged into service, right? And remember, that's how the ordinance is written. Your initial contact is an attempt to get them to plug into service. If all we can do is gather this form, and this form can go to Denise Simon in our housing department, and Denise can work with various entities, Terrell Action Committee, and then obviously there's others in other locations around, right? It could be just an individual church. Whatever that social service need is. And Denise is excellent at that. If it should so happen that they need, again, just use the domestic abuse victim services item. If there's an identification that that's what they need, but they're not willing to say yes to the police department right then and there, but that officer checks likely needed but not receptive, okay, that's a big clue for our charitable organizations. That's a big clue for Denise in our housing department, and she can get that going in the correct direction. So I feel like creating this form and allowing for some tracking really helps, number one, get where we wanted to be with the philosophy in the first place. We want the police to be sort of the last the last round of, gosh, we really don't even want to write these tickets, but if someone's just refusing assistance, that's where we might get into that situation. So we have to have the tool, because that's the real world. Sometimes people will refuse and not accept any assistance, but it should be the police department are making a contact and just trying to plug the person into a social service. Police are not a social service entity, but they can use this as a referral form and get our social service guys doing a direction that they need to go. So that's a very important element of it. If you go, I think it's going backwards in the agenda, just a page or two, I'll use this page as the example. So well, go back one more page if you don't mind. So down at the bottom of this page, what is the fine? The fine is now simply $200. $200 is the exact dollar amount that if you spend the night in jail and you're indigent, then one night in jail is credited as $200. So if you do spend the night in jail, just that night alone has paid your fee. And so, we don't want to be in that position, but if we end up in that position, then that person is not taking a financial hit. Before taking any enforcement action, they're going to ask, they're going to talk, and you see that 1, 2, 3 there. Inform the person of the community resources. Number 2, request the person cease. The next page goes on to states to failure to comply with the warning may result in so-and-so. So that process of, I want you to first accept help, I want to find out why, that I think can be a really powerful process for us. So again, I appreciate the community input. I'd be happy for y'all to ask questions to the chief, interim chief, as you might have, to try to get more details on it. And I'll pass that back over to you, Mayor.
All right. Does anybody have any comment? Well, Chief, did you have anything new to add?
Covered every topic.
Good. Does anybody have any questions for
Mayor?
Yes.
I'd like to just begin by saying this to me is a great example of us discussing something with staff during a meeting, and then staff taking this away and making the changes that we requested, and really working with us as far as what we were looking for. I think that the ordinance, as it appears now, is much closer to a compassionate policy. It's it directly, it directs the individual to potential resources available. It doesn't issue a $500 fine. We reduce the fine amount. I think that all of the concerns we expressed are addressed here. Pointing to the right resources, still giving our businesses, the ability to call someone and say, this guy's sleeping for my business, it's causing me trouble. It kind of meets both sets of needs, right? And so I want to commend staff and you, Chief, for giving us an ordinance here that I think is very easy for me to support at this point.
Okay. Anyone else?
Is this is this up for discussion, or are we
Yes.
voting on this?
It's discuss and consider. This is ordinance number 3047, so we will be voting on it.
Chief, do you have anything you want to add?
No, ma'am. I think that we took the right input from the community. I think we took the right input from the council. I know that staff spent a lot of time putting this together to make sure that we had all the inclusions that were brought about from those discussions, and I think that we brought you a good package.
And I want to clarify this again. I asked this last time. This only deals with public spaces, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So if a citizen has land and they say they want to, someone can sleep on their property, can someone do that?
So let me take that one on. So you have to remember, nothing you're doing changes our zoning ordinance.
Correct.
Okay? The zoning ordinance today would control, is that piece of land residential or not? And does what's happening on that land match with the zoning of it, right? So that's where you get into, well, can I use a vacant piece of land that I own for a tent? And the answer was, well, that has nothing to do with this ordinance. On the other hand, it is a zoning violation that we would have to then work with the owner about the zoning violation. So in that particular case, it's not the person doing the action of sleeping in the tent, it's that municipal development would go contact the owner of that piece of land and discuss with them that, well, that's a zoning violation, and have that conversation. That's a thing that's unchanged right now, but of course there's no prohibition against, people, taking the homeless into their homes, and there's no prohibition against people, working with our hotel community and all that sort of thing. So, but if you're asking tent specifically on a vacant lot, that's a zoning violation.
Okay, so that takes care of that. So I am corrected. I was under the impression once it had gone into revision, when we brought it back, it would go into discussion before we would vote on it.
Just for clarity, the nature of the wording of the postponement was that it automatically would come back for an action item. Now, of course, that's the council's purview. If you wish to postpone it, you're perfectly welcome to postpone it. But the nature of the wording of the postponement was for it to come back for action.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. Okay, so the police officers will do this intake form. What's the next step? Where does this form go?
We will keep those in dispatch until we have a reasonable number. We don't know based on frequency yet whether that's going to be a weekly or a monthly. I envision it probably being monthly based on the number that we're seeing presently, and then that will be forwarded to Danish, who will then be able to take a look at that and see if any of those services that they didn't allow us to hook them up with, that she would be able to plug them into some type of service in that regard.
Can I look at that form, please? Would you go to it? Okay, how readily, those papers are missing out my packet for some reason. But, so if they requested all that, there would be a delay just until you gather enough or get them to Ms. Danish?
Of course not. If we had a specific request, we would attempt to plug them in immediately. If it was something that we didn't have the control to plug them into at that time, then we would make that forward the very next day.
And Ms. Danish is here?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I ask her a question?
Sure.
Thank you. I know you attend some of the community meetings as it relates to the TAC. I see your name on the email and stuff. So when you look at this first column under requested, how readily available are those resources? If somebody checked yes to all those, how long would it take you to, and somebody's serious, they really need the help, they're just in a bad place in their life with their children or even individually, how fast would it take you to get them to those resources, or if you could assist with that? How readily available are those resources?
Based on what I see here, it wouldn't take long for me I have contacts in all those areas to try to provide some type of assistance or provide them a resource for them to go to.
And you, when you say not long, are you saying 24 hours, 48, 72, if it's a weekend, what do you?
I will use the example, if someone comes to our office and we cannot provide a service that they need, then we have brochures. I give them numbers to other agencies and other nonprofit groups that are in the community. There's a monthly meeting that I attend over in Kaufman. And so a lot of the nonprofits that are providing services in our county are there. And so I normally get brochures and business cards and various things so that I can share that with the families that come into our office and also the families that are on our program.
Okay, thank you.
Denise, while you're up there real quick, Councilwoman, are you good? How often would you say that occurs? Where someone reaches out to the city for services? How often are we talking about?
At least once a week. It may
Okay.
not be that they actually come into the office. They may actually email me, or they may call, or somebody's told them call housing to see what it is. But at least once a week, I'm getting a call from somebody saying, I don't have anywhere to go, I need this, I need that. So I give them, I never tell anybody I don't have a resource. I tell them, here's something for you to check into, because I don't want to just leave them without any hope. So I
Right.
give them something
Okay.
that I know is out there in the community.
All right.
And Chief, you already do this. Now you're just documenting it.
Yes, ma'am.
Because you take them to the orange door. Yeah, that's a program.
I have,
Red door, apologies.
And I can live with this. I've talked to about 3 homeless people that I saw out in a public place. Just kind of to hear their story and, to see if there was any, what was, their story, and also trying to see if there was any similarities or connections. So I get it, and we talked numbers, and I can live with this.
Denise, and Denise and staff, my feedback is around the next steps. What I would really like to see happen, in addition to, of course, the assistance that we're provided to, the assistance that is accepted, 2 things. One, I want you to have my support, and I'm going to ask for the council and mayor support in providing you the time and the tools needed to implement like the HUD home repair to help prevent added expenses for individuals that are unable to pay those expenses. I would love to see that in this, the upcoming budget retreat that we're having as a action item. I'm
Careful.
moving on here, Mayor.
Yeah, careful off the agenda item is about ordinance number 3047, so, yeah. keep
And,
it. I know you're tying it in, that's good.
We mentioned TAC earlier in the communication that has occurred with Chief and other key players from the city. And while they proposed an entire plan around this conversation, I would like for the city to, in the near future, to have a true sit-down and understanding of where we are, the different, maybe the same and different visions, and where we may be able to support each other there. And I also am appreciative of staff hearing our comments, our feedback, but more than anything, really appreciative of our community members in TAC who have said, I'm not only just going to bang on the door, but I'm going to bang on the door and I'm going to come with solutions. And, and I know they've done research, whether it's online, best practices, talking to other organizations, and have continued conversations with the city. So we appreciate you.
Yeah,
Thank
and
One final, go ahead.
I am hoping that the TAC homelessness care team is a resource that moves as part of an intervention for the individual concerned, that is coming down the pike, that we won't have to put someone in your facilities. You know how I feel about that. I do not want that. I think that it serves, your facilities are for people who deserve to be there, not people who don't. So, okay. Yeah.
A final thought that I have, I would love to see the data collected in these transient contact forms. Denise, I know that you attend these TAC meetings often, right? Because I know I've seen you at the meeting. I'd love to see us sort of share that information with the TAC, and I'd really like to encourage the TAC and our faith-based community at large to really come together and try to think about what solutions you can provide here. We have such a large faith-based community in Terrell, so many churches. Surely we can come together to help some of these people out. When we look at the data, there's maybe 20 to 50 homeless people. That doesn't seem like an unsolvable problem. I know this ordinance is getting out ahead of future issues with homelessness as our community grows. But if we could share this data and make sure that all those who are impacted, are being helped, if not by the city, then by our faith-based community. I think that's important for you guys to kind of plug into that. I appreciate the work you're doing, and I hope you continue to do it.
Yep.
Thank you.
Just one last comment. When I was looking at this ordinance, it was 8.22. It was under A, number 1, where it says a person sleeps or dozes. And I would hope that dozing, I doze sometime. I think you guys would be gentle. I think it's a weird word to put in there. I get the sleeping, but you're enjoying the sun sometimes, but I don't think you guys will be that harsh.
We actually had that conversation in the drafting of this ordinance. If you're sitting at a football game and you took a nap, that would not constitute a violation under.
Yeah, it's anywhere in public, but I think just a gentle reminder, most people would respond to that.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
As much discretion for the police officers in there as we possibly could and have a viable ordinance.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right. Thank you all very much for the presentation. Again, this is ordinance number 3047. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve ordinance number 3047.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion from Phil Robinson, Deputy Mayor Pro Tem District 5, a second from Mayor Ronnie Velasquez, District 3, to approve ordinance number 3047 as presented. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor let it be known by stating aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries with unanimous vote of those present. Our next item on the agenda is the consent
I
agenda.
did not say anything.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't believe we had a vote down here.
So,
I
let's,
apologize.
no. So are you abstaining, or what are you gonna vote?
I am going to, no, I cannot abstain.
So vote no? Yes?
I was just going to tell you that.
I'm going to say no.
Okay. Motion carries 3-1 vote. Next item on the agenda is our consent agenda. We may take that all in one motion. Is there a motion on the consent agenda?
Motion to approve consent agenda as presented.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Motion?
To approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second?
We have a motion from Phil Robinson, Deputy Mayor Pro Tem District 5, a second from Donna Renee Anderson, District 2, to approve consent agenda as presented. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries for unanimous consent of those present. We have no executive. We are adjourned. Thank you, council.